Therapy roulette, consent to vent. Trauma disguised as comedy. Therapy roulette, consent to vent. If you don't have problems, then you're likely repressing shit and you should find a therapist who's not me.
Welcome back to Therapy Roulette. Today we're joined by Olivia Hill. She is a stand-up comedian in Los Angeles. You can see her performing all over town. She's very funny. Olivia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
Oh my God. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. And I already commented earlier, but your background is stunning. So I love that you have a chandelier.
Me too.
Lighting goals.
I do have to give credit, and I should have looked up her name. She is a photographer in Los Angeles who her entire house, every room is color coordinated. So this is her blue room, but she has like a hot pink room, a green room, and some of the themes in those other rooms are very adult. So this was like the room where I was like, this one's PG and I can throw it on when I have like work Zooms that I need to be on, where I don't want, the fellow lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, but I work with lawyers.
My fellow lawyers.
My fellow lawyers that I am not really part of. If I don't want them to see my actual dwellings, I just throw this up. And so, yeah.
Yeah. No, it looks very like PC. I can put this on YouTube and hopefully it won't get taken down. That's great.
Yeah. I think you should be fine. Yeah. There's no. Also, since this is going on YouTube, am I not allowed to say certain words?
As far as I know, you're good. Like, you don't have to say all the drugs Joe Rogan has taken, but like, I think if you talk normally, you should be fine.
Well, I'm sober, so that typically doesn't come up for me anymore. Mm-hmm. But to be fair, they're previous stories. So yeah, I guess I should. I'll draw them out on like a Post-it. And
I actually think the fun drugs are fine. I was talking about like the COVID drugs. Which I talk about in stand-up for like a bit, and even the stand-up crowds are always like, "Why are you bringing this up?" So,
really,
I know talking about the virus on YouTube they don't like it.
Right, because they think everyone has like misinformation, which is responsible of them to try and control that. But I have a channel that's not monetized, and I'm like, I just kind of want to talk about like my experience with it, which you can't tell me is wrong. And I'm not trying to spread misinformation. I'm just telling you like, I lost my voice for some reason,
Yeah. Like you're just talking about your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And YouTube's like, no, that's false.
Yes. Right.
Maybe I'll bleep out their name, but yeah, sometimes they're a little controlling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, you got some lions, chandelier, you're doing well.
Yes, this is like my vision board that maybe one day I'll actually have a chandelier, a lion painting, a random martini glass.
Yeah, you could get all this stuff for low cost at Home Depot, Target. They have them there. Yeah,
or probably just thrift them, or go to estate sales. I'm sure I could find this painting at an estate sale tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's like common enough you could find it.
Yeah, I think it'd be so funny to find out that like in 1970, this was just the mass produced painting you could buy at Target. So there are actually a bunch of homes with it. But because we're like of younger generations, we're like, wow, look at that art. And it's like, no, that was actually just a print that you could get at TJ Maxx.
Yeah, that was like somewhat higher tier garbage back in the day. Now people love it.
Yeah.
This male and female lion like on the prowl.
Yeah. I love that higher tier garbage.
Because you never know, like with things that come back in style. Like I know, like for me, everything Gen Z is doing, I'm like, I question this. Like you look cool doing it, but I question, do you know the whole history? So
right,
same way with art.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I don't know why I was just thinking about how was it Van Gogh who wasn't popular until after he passed away. So he doesn't even know how big he became. And I just had like an existential crisis, like for no, it wasn't triggered by anything. I was just like, what if that happens to me? Like, what if my TikTok blows up after I'm gone and I never got to see how much I made an impact? fact.
Oh my God. I hope you have a better longevity story.
Yeah, I do too. I would like to see, you know, some of the fruits of my labor, but at the same time, like, you know, think about Van Gogh. Like, we all know Van Gogh, but he would never know that. Like, that's wild.
Have you been to the Van Gogh Museum?
You talking about the experience here in LA?
Or the museum in Amsterdam?
Oh no, I have not. You're talking about actual classy things. I'm talking about the like
not that
shitty,
classy.
like no, it's not.
I read the reviews of the Van Gogh experience and I was like, doesn't sound worth my money. So I haven't done that. But I did the museum in Amsterdam and I read all the signage, all the plaques. His story was so tragic. I was like, I don't even want to look at the art. Like, I'm so affected by his story.
What was the main takeaway for you?
Just that his life was so bleak. Like, his brother did all of his PR and like promoted his stuff. And that's the only reason he got any fame after his death. But otherwise he was alone, poor, you know, I'm sure he had a lot of mental illnesses. He was not doing great, Vincent.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. So I recommend
Vincent.
If you go to that museum, just look at the art. Don't read anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to check that out. Amsterdam. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The experience, I've heard mixed reviews.
Right. Cause it's one of those museums where it's just like an Instagram experience. I went to one in Las Vegas with some friends and it was touted as like a 420 museum, but they were like, no, there's actual, you get paired with a tour guide and there's history. And it started out with like some good history. We like looked at a mural and they like explained like the history of like the legalization and just, you know, what hemp is used for, blah, 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 blah. But then once we got inside the museum, it was pure like, take a picture with this cloud chair, you know? And I was like, oh, this is that. Okay.
Yeah. Which is like, yeah, we all want a picture with the cool stuff, but I also want a museum.
Yeah. Just don't call it a museum then, you know, like if I'm actually wanting to learn, let me learn something. And then the other times, yeah, I'll just want a photo taken, but it was very just like the knowledge dropped off the second we walked through those doors.
That's rough. I think we need to make a museum for like the people trying to activate their brains. Like, hey, you want to open a book today? This is for you.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to drop some knowledge? Come in here. There's very few Instagram photo ops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't need every section of every room to be like photo shoot. You could just do that once or twice.
Right. Right. And it's like so funny that like even the tour guide was like, there was like a slide at some point and they're like, we can take a boomerang on this one. And I was like, oh my God, which I guess is good PR for that museum, air quotes.
Yeah, that's like in New York, like the ice cream museum, the sex museum. Like, I don't know if these are real museums, but I've seen the pictures.
Yes. I remember when the ice cream museum had a stint here in LA. It's like 2016, 15 maybe. And it was like so hard to get tickets. And my coworker was like so proud of herself. She was like, we got tickets. I'm going this weekend.
Okay.
And when she showed me pictures, I was like, yeah, these are all the pictures I've seen on Instagram already. You're just in them. And also, I don't even know how much ice cream was actually at that museum, which is the whole point.
Yeah, if it's not an ice cream shop, it seems like hard to put in museum format because you have to have it cold. And how much are you going to eat? Not that much.
Yeah, it was just, I just remember the sprinkles pool that everyone would like get into. And I was like, man, that's like an adult ball pit. Like that has to be filled with like germs at this point of like all the bodies that have been. And I know they're not like real sprinkles. I assume, but it's still just like a lot of plastic. And I'm sure you go home with a lot of microplastic on you, you know, and these are the things I think about.
Yeah. Like how many people caught HPV in the ball pit? Those are the stats we need. So you're sober. How has that been for you? Has it been a long time? Do you want to talk about it?
Sure. Yeah. I've been sober since the end of 2019. So before the pandemic.
Okay. So you got it in a good time.
Yeah. And I I didn't realize like when we were in lockdown, how many people were like drinking and smoking. And because it didn't really cross my mind to like, because I had already made the decision myself, like I am going to be sober. So even a global pandemic isn't going to rock me into doing anything because
you're so
I
steady.
I just, and it took several tries. Like, I don't want to just say like, I decided it one day and I just did it. Like I definitely tried a few times in my life and it is hard to do. And then one day you finally are just like, no, I'm done for good. And, you know, I do miss it sometimes. And sometimes I crave it the most when I'm on a run and I see a really good advertisement for like beer. I'm like, that's just great marketing and I'm thirsty. So yes, I would love a beer right now, but typically I can go to a bar and not feel swayed or anything. I don't really, I also think that I had a lot of, I don't want to say like experience, but I just had a lot of times in my life where if you put me in the right setting, it's kind of like a placebo effect. If I'm drinking like a sparkling water and all my friends are wasted, like I can still snap back rather than like when you're like wasted and you like can't drive, but like I can have just as much like loose fun as if I was like tipsy. And I think it's just like my brain being like, oh, we remember this environment. We remember like what it's like. And it's kind of not easy to fake, but it's kind of easy to snap back into. So people always tell me, they're like, oh, we don't remember that you're sober because when you come out with us, you just seem like you.
Yeah.
So
well, you want them to remember you're sober, but it's good. They're like, you're still just as fun. Like your personality is still there.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel that way too. Cause my boyfriend is sober. He has been for like 6 years. So
nice.
We moved in during the pandemic together and he is a sober person. So I wasn't like, let me get fucked up. You can watch me. I was I like, sometimes I'll have like a glass of wine. I'm always like, oh, this is a lot for me because I don't do anything anymore. So I'm like sober adjacent because I live with him.
Yeah.
So my pandemic was pretty calm too. And I remember like hearing of people's raging lockdown stories and I'm like, that sounds exhausting. I would not want to do that.
And your body just gets tired. Like I also think I don't know how, because I was never someone who really like drank alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that was even like the environment where I was like, oh, I want to drink right now, being stuck in my apartment. I was like, I would typically go out to do this stuff. So it didn't make me want it. If anything, I was still just like the rest of us, like, I don't know what tomorrow holds. You know, are we still in lockdown? Are we still, and I was working from home throughout all of it. So I still had a job that I had to show up to, you know.
Yeah, you're still trying to hold down your life. So
yeah.
That's good. Because I feel like, a lot of people had reckonings where they were like, I have a problem, or like something clicked where they were like, I'm drinking too much, or, you know, got to go to this recovery meeting. So it's good you were ahead of the curve. I'm glad I'm dating a sober person. I feel like these were like the universe stepping in, being like, here you go, easier 2020 for you.
Yeah. Like it definitely helps control the chaos a little bit to take it out of your life. And, you know, and I'm a control freak. So I think that's another reason why it works for me, is that now I'm extra in control.
And you probably get so much shit done. Like I do the sparkling water trick sometimes too, because now I don't want to day drink. I want to, like, if I'm drinking or like any recreational fun, because I feel like I work a lot and I'm working on comedy a lot. So if I want to have a few beers, I'm like, you better deserve those. Like you better mostly be drinking Spindrift and LaCroix, because otherwise otherwise I get tired. I'm just gonna take a nap at a random time.
Yeah, I mean, day drinking though, that was very fun, but yes, it does completely, you're like, you think when you're drunk and day drinking that you're gonna fall, it just feels peaceful to fall asleep early, and you're like, wow, I'm sleeping early, this is nice. And then you wake up at like 3 a.m. with like heart palpitations. You're like, oh God, what did I do? Like,
yeah, I know. And then, you know, the rest of your day is kind of fucked, and you're like, oh, I lost control of the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Good thing I got other weekends to look forward to.
Exactly. I don't, what's funny is that when I first got sober, I think there were so many things that I thought would happen, i.e., like thinking, oh my God, I'm like so much more productive. But I don't think that my current day productivity levels, they probably are like a little bit intertwined, but it wasn't like a switch where like I quit drinking and suddenly I was like pushing out 5 TikToks a day. Like I still got to get over like your internal narratives on, how to show up to the page, as they say for writers, right? And that's terrifying in and of itself, even though I've done it a million times. Like starting a new project and like sitting down and writing is still, doesn't matter if you're sober. Sometimes being drunk is the way to go, because then you're like, fuck it, I'll just do a vomit draft because I feel good right now. And then you just clean it up when you're sober. But now that I'm sober all the time, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't shown up to the page in quite some time. So it's a struggle. And it helps to have any kind of routine. Like for me, I try to like drink tea, or like if it's the daytime, I'll drink coffee. And then it's like, you have your hot drink, get to work. And that kind of clicks my mind into gear. But it's hard with the internet. My laptop is an abyss. Yeah. I don't always get writing done.
Yeah. And I definitely pull a lot of inspiration from like watching TikTok, but then I'm also sucked into TikTok for who knows how long.
Yeah. Because time doesn't exist on TikTok.
Time doesn't exist anymore, period. I don't think. I don't know.
I think that's true. Because I hate social media, and then I'll spend so much time on it to relax. Like I'm like, this is my relaxing time. There are no good feelings, but I feel like compelled to be on there.
And it definitely is doing something different to our brain. Because I remember there was one weekend where I was just exhausted, and I was like, I'm just gonna lay on my couch and watch TikTok. And and I made a conscious, I was like, this is how I'm going to relax. And I thought about it. I was like, I do feel a little guilty because I know it's like the videos are so quick. And so you are kind of like messing with like what's firing in your brain. But I was like, well, what is the difference? I mean, there is a difference, but I was like, before TikTok, before social media, we would veg out by watching 3 hours of reality TV television. This is just shorter form. I don't know. I was basically making excuses for watching 2 hours of TikTok one weekend, but
yeah, no, you're rationalizing really well.
Should be a spokesperson for TikTok.
Yeah, you're getting more content. You're learning more. Maybe that whole situation is more relaxing because the reality TV heightens the drama a lot. So maybe TikTok doesn't do that. I don't know.
I think, well, it's a gamble with TikTok, right? Because you could get a really great video on psychology, or you could get a really horrible take on psychology that no one should have posted to the internet, and then you could get a video of a cat. Can post. And I think that's something where I would like to think that as an adult I can discern, but then I fall for a lot of things, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah, it really is like the playground of anyone. Like, who knows who's out there, who's posting stuff. I could post videos of cats, and I just don't. I have the potential. We have some neighborhood cats running around. I could start filming them.
You could. Yeah. And it's always like, I love and hate that it's always the thing that I never thought would take off that does. And I'm like, oh, here's a joke I've been working on for 6 years that got 3 views, but this random, I don't even know what video has taken off that I didn't expect, but I think I used to be really precious with my stand-up clips and not letting them exist on the internet because, we were more precious, I think, before social media about that stuff. And you didn't know who was going to see it. I would just kind of have my tapes and I'd keep them on private on YouTube. That way I could send them to shows and be like, hey, here's my tape.
Yeah, this is what I do.
Yeah. Now
I'm still precious, but I think it hurts me.
Well, I'm still precious to an extent. And what I do now is if a show is recorded, I'll take a little bit of like crowd work because I'm like, that crowd work wouldn't exist again anyways. or something that happened that was very specific to the show. That way, that is like a funny moment. That way I can appear like I'm doing, stand up, and people are always asking like, oh my God, where can we like watch you online? But it's not giving away like the jokes that I might want to save for a special,
Yeah.
But
That's
also,
smart. I think a lot of like comics I admire do that too, where they're like, here's some crowd work, enjoy. And it's funny, it's punchy, you get to make fun of someone, and it's really short.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I don't have enough crowd work where I could showcase it, but I'll have to work on that.
Yeah, and it'll come naturally. And I try not to make fun of the audience too much, if at all. If anything, my crowd.
Sometimes it stings, and I'm like, I feel bad for the audience.
Yeah. My crowd work would be more like I see something, I say something, but then I'm ultimately still being self-deprecating, I think, by the end. But also, I don't know. It depends on the person, I guess.
That's the way to go. I feel like a comic should mostly be making fun of herself. It's better. It's more like we don't all have to feel terrible in the audience because the comic's making fun of herself. And
also, I've heard that if you just start swinging at an audience member and the audience doesn't dislike that audience member, then as a comedian, you seem like the asshole. But versus if it's like someone who's been heckling all night and being annoying all night, and then the audience is like, we're so sick of this person, and the comic addresses that, then the audience is like, yeah, like, that person. But you can't just like come out swinging,
Yeah, or ridiculing someone just for like how they look, or they're in the front row or something. It's like, yeah, it's kind of an easy shot.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. I've done shows where people are like, I want you to make fun of me. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a very specific kink. Let's
it's like,
let's
okay,
unpack
so
that.
You don't have enough money to spend on OnlyFans. Welcome to the show. That's interesting.
Yeah, like I'm not here to be your sub-dom relationship. I have jokes I need to tell.
Yeah, we don't. This is not only for you, sir.
Yeah.
Everyone here paid to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So how is therapy going for you? Are you in therapy?
I am in therapy, and
nice. Me too.
Nice. It's going great. I love my therapist. I love her so much. I have been with her since 2019, I think 2018 or 2019, with like a break at some point. And now we see each other pretty regularly, and she's phenomenal. The thing that made me like fall in platonic love with her, I have to be very careful about it, because I feel like when people say it's professional. I heard of someone saying that, and I would never do this, but I heard of a story recently where someone thought that there was a connection between their therapist, so they like sent them an email like asking them out, and the therapist had to end the sessions because of that, but was also not going to date her either. And so I never want to lose Nancy. So I'm like, it's very platonic, but I do love her. And the thing that like really got me in the beginning was her memory. Like, she wouldn't take notes. And I literally had to ask her, I was like, are you recording these sessions? And she was like, no. And I was like, your memory is scary good.
Yeah.
Like, she would
to not write anything down is unusual.
Yeah. I think she said she does take a little bit of notes after a session when she's like processing, but she was like, they're kind of broad stroke notes, but she would remember, like, I could say, the list of all of my exes, and she would know who exactly was which one, and could be like, oh yeah, you were talking about Sam. Oh, this is, trying to think of fake names right now.
Yeah. Billy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sam is always my go-to fake name for someone I've been with.
It's a common name. It could work. Yeah.
So
good.
She has a scary good memory, and I really appreciated that, because it definitely made session more efficient.
So Nancy's like present, she's with it. And even remembering people's names, I think that's like something I haven't seen a lot in my therapists in the past. So like that's A+ work.
Yeah, it really, really is. And yeah, she's got me through a lot of like everything from like petty level things to like the deep stuff, and even some like career moments in between. She's great. I love her.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I've been reading this book about a therapist. Maybe you should talk to someone. And it's gotten me like a little too into the therapist mindset where I'm like, oh, when I have therapy, now I think I'm the therapist and I have to like switch it off. Because the book is just so good and very like honest. But she does talk about in the book, patients will fall in love with their therapists or like they'll start to romanticize them or something.
Yeah.
Like maybe they see them as a parent figure, but like the relationships get blurred subconsciously all the time.
Sure. Because you're sharing so much of yourself
Yeah.
with someone who is trusted. I love that HIPAA exists. I love that I can say anything, knowing that if she ever, says anything to anyone, she's legally in trouble. Like, I like that there's like a legal ramification behind it.
Like she can't even tell people you're her client, or if you were at a comedy show and she was in the audience, she can't be like, hey, I know her.
Right. And
Yeah.
which I've asked her about. I was like, what would happen if we like ran into each other at a grocery store? And she was like, you would have to approach me. And if you were around people, you can say, this is my therapist, or you cannot say that, but I can't say or do anything. And I'm like, that's so interesting. And I also respected when I started working with Nancy, we were both very professional. And I think now that we've existed through a pandemic and that she's further along in her profession, it does feel more like a friendship at times.
Yeah.
And that's also really, but I also, I don't ask about her life if she's not going to tell me, because I want to keep her space sacred. And yeah.
Just a one-sided friend.
Yeah, exactly.
I know my therapist can seem like a friend too, where she's like super animated and super like invested in me. Yeah. And I'm always like this, why I don't deserve this. This is so nice. And like, you're my best friend, but like, you're not even my friend. You're my therapist. It's very confusing.
Yeah. And it's so nice to just have someone validate you and be invested in you and believe in you. And it's funny. I was talking to my therapist once. I was like, isn't it wild that I'm telling you about like a shitty situation that happened with a friend, but my friend is probably also telling their therapist. So now there's like a web of like, who's on whose side, because their therapist is probably on their side and you're my therapist and you're on my side.
Yeah. Or it's not even about taking sides. It's like coming to understanding.
True.
Like, why did it become such a mess? Like kind of like, Olivia, what did you do wrong? Like, or like, did you do anything wrong? Like making you look at it.
Yeah. And I tell her, I'm like, call me out on my bullshit. If I'm being like, you don't have to be on my side here. I think though, what's interesting about that specific scenario is that I think she saw things in what I told her, where she was like, how therapists, they can't really tell you what to do. You do have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. They can't be too outright.
Yeah. I think she wanted me to figure out on my own that this was not a good relationship. So she was on my side, but she couldn't like outright say it. And she was kind of like directing me to like realize who this person was in my life. And I think once we like came to that conclusion, in some sessions later, she was like, I couldn't say it at the time, but I don't think that's a good relationship for you. And I'm like, or you could have said it at the time and saved me $400.
Like, or we could have fast forwarded.
Yeah.
And we could have moved on to something else.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, I don't know if you're like this, but I'm like this. If someone tells me what to do or gives me unsolicited advice, it's going to make me turn off my ears all the more. So like, I need to come to it on my own.
Yes. I think all humans do. I think we feel empowered when we make our own decisions, but I also think there are so many those like self-help books, but they're kind of like manipulative.
Yeah, well, they all have an agenda.
yeah And I think, or like if you have like, what's that guy, he's he was like a master negotiator for the FBI, and he has like a master class on negotiation.
Okay.
And it's like all these people will teach you like ways to make other people think that your idea was their idea. And then, and I'm like, who has the time to manipulate this much? Like, if I want something, I will say it, but I guess I might not get it had I not taken the 8 extra steps to make someone else believe it was their idea. It's just I don't have the time.
Yeah, you have to have a guarantee that you're going to see this person 8 times. Like, you know, how long are you going to know this person for?
Right.
If this is Hollywood, you're never going to see them again. It's like a one-time thing.
Right. Or like what I find with like the open mic phenomenon is like I'll see someone like 8 times in 2 weeks and then never again for like half a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was an open mic phenomenon. That's funny.
I'm coining it, and I think because I've experienced it, and you're like, it's so weird that I keep running into this person. Or maybe I'm just completely aloof to the fact I have a stalker or something.
It could be. I mean, we were talking about stalkers before. Like, you don't know it's bad until it gets really bad.
Yeah. I do think it's a phenomenon though, because the second part is true too, where it's like, then they just disappear. And you're like, and then you kind of forget about them until you see them on the next run of like running into them 8 times. And then and maybe it's just because people are prepping for something. And so like,
are you talking about me? Is this about me?
No. Although maybe I did see you like twice once I saw you at the Comedy Nook.
Yeah, because I do fall off open mics a lot. It's usually like, do I have a show coming up? Or am I really motivated that month? Like I definitely like dip in and out.
Yeah. I've started to dip in and out more. I think before the pandemic, I was always in it. And
yeah, it's hard for me. It's like kind of a drive from where I live. So I have to really be like, you're going to get in traffic and you're going to enjoy it. And like, maybe you'll reward yourself with a coffee. Like I have to like really like pump myself up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. But the idea is like every Monday I'll be at the Comedy Nook or like whatever. Like I'll come up with a routine. I just haven't gotten to that point yet where the routine is reality.
Routine is hard because random things happen all the time. And I think as much as a lot of us have learned during the pandemic to respect our time and energy, there's still a hardwired muscle in us that wants to address whatever random thing pops up. Like we're not hardwired yet to know like, no, this is my routine that I need to stick to and honor first. And maybe I can make time for your thing. Still feels like if a little landmine goes off, we got to address it. So it's because I feel the same way. I'm like, oh, I'm finally going to have that schedule. And like I'm a pet sitter. So as much as I want to wake up at the same time every day, because I know that's good for my health, it depends on what pet I'm watching. And if one dog is a 7 a.m. dog and one's, a 9 a.m. dog, like I have to be up to let out that 7 a.m. dog, even though I never want to be awake at 7 a.m.
Yeah. Because the dog probably can't move things around.
They cannot.
The dog is just going to be up at 7 waiting for you.
And they get you awake. Cats are really good at waking you up, and they're not even that loud, but I've heard that some cats, they did like is it a sonograph or like where you take a sound clip and you look at the waves of it.
Okay.
And like they compared,
sonogram? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But that thing, right?
Yeah.
They compared a cat who is hungry and asking for food to how a human baby cries.
Ooh. And
and it's like the same pitches at the right time to kind of like annoy you to the urgency of like they need you to feed them. And it's like a learned behavior that cats have picked up. That way they can get things from humans. And cats, yeah, they know how to get you up and get you to open their kibble.
Yeah, I know, because we have 2 outdoor cats that like roam our backyard all the time, and they are very needy, very outspoken. And we fed them once like some canned fish we didn't want to eat ourselves, and they rejected it. So now it's like never again will we offer you food. But they're fine. They're like our neighbors' cats. They just live outside. They have food they could get. But I hear them and I'm like, I feel bad for this cat who's crying on the brick. And it does like ignite something in me where I'm like, go take care of the strange cat.
Yeah.
Go give it shelter.
I had a neighborhood cat at my old place that was young. So it was like not full blown kitten, but it was like maybe 2 years old. And I didn't know if it had an owner. It was very unclear whether it had an owner or not. So one day I got it like a can of cat food from Trader Joe's, and the can was like, pretty big. And I just put it out for the cat. And then I left to go run some errands, and I came back and my neighbors were like, "So you fed the cat?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, go check out what it did."
Uh-oh.
And I got to the can, and I guess it was so excited. It ate a bunch and too much and just threw it all back up in front of my door. And so I had to clean it.
Oh no. You were so thoughtful by getting it intentional, like brand new cat food from Trader Joe's. That's very thoughtful.
Yeah. That cat and I had like a sweet relationship. It was a very sweet, turns out it did belong to someone, but was like, one of those cats where they're like the mayor of the city and they're like friendly to everybody. And
that cat's a pimp.
yeah. But the cat, but I get now that like the cat, because it was so young and like probably was in like a, oh my God, I have to eat everything right now and it's really good mindset, didn't know when to stop eating and say like, oh, I'm full. So it went till it couldn't. Yep. Went too hard.
Yeah. Oh, well, you tried. You had that humanitarian spirit. You tried to give back to the cat.
Yeah. And I think now I know if I ever want to do that again, just scoop out 2 tablespoons. That's all they get. That's all they need. You
ration that cat food.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, you'll probably throw the rest out. Who knows? But like, you don't want the cat to puke. It's not a good idea.
Right. Because then it's a waste for everybody.
Yeah. So you're a pet sitter. Do you have any pets of your own?
I do not, because if I did, I wouldn't be able to pet sit.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. I would have to get
a pet sitter career first.
I do love the clients that I have. I love them very, very much. And a lot of them I've had for years. So it basically is like extended family for me. With some of the new ones, I don't know. And it is purely a job, but there are some of my clients I'm like, oh my God, I've known them longer than some of my friends in Los Angeles. So
yeah, long-term relationships.
Do
you deal with any birds or exotic type pets?
I have not dealt with a bird yet. The most exotic I would say is a turtle, but even the turtle's very low maintenance, but it's the most like random. I would say things stand out more when the pet has specific medication and food needs, and you kind of have to memorize per animal what their thing is. And
you're also a pet nurse,
basically. And pets are just like bratty children sometimes, in the sense that they know that you're not their parent, so they will try and get away with things that that their parent, they're like, oh, mom and dad are gone, let's see if I can get away with this bad behavior with this person,
Yeah, like they're treating you like a substitute teacher.
Yes.
I can do anything.
Yeah. And it's not all of them. Some are really sweet, some are great, but especially the ones where they need medication. And I'm like, and the owners are like, oh, it's so easy. She takes her medication. So you just pop open her mouth and drop it in and she'll take it. And it's like, right. Because she knows you feed her, you love her. You've known her for 18 years. Your cat is still alive now and she doesn't know me. And, and I, to an extent, I get it too. Cause it's like, yeah, who is this person giving me medication? But
yeah, the owner's just like, please take the job. You're our first choice. We don't want to talk to anyone else. Our pet will be so easy. We promise. They're just like lying through their teeth.
Yeah. I love when I meet pets. Also, they get protective over their owner in front of new people. They either get protective or they show off. And either way, it's crazy times. And owners will always, like, every time I meet a pet for the first time, their owner will always say, this is the worst they've ever acted. We promise, like, please take the job. And sometimes they're right. Sometimes I'm like, no, it is just because the pet is so excited about like a new friend being with its owners. Like, it's excited. But sometimes I'm like, no, you don't know how to discipline your pet. And now I'm getting dragged by this 15-ton dog across Santa Monica.
Yeah. And it's like, you're not going to be doing the training to make that dog a better behaved dog.
Right.
That's on the owner, or they have to hire a trainer.
Right. Yeah.
That could be hard.
Yeah. Especially when, going back to what I was saying, like, even if I were to try, the pet knows. They're like, yeah, you're going to tell me to sit, but I don't have to listen to you.
Yeah. It knows you have no authority.
Yeah. So
they're like, they just gave you the pills and the food. You mean nothing to me.
the eye drops that I have to like get them to that's eye drops are hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've only seen like my parents' friends do that with their dogs. I'm like, personally, I would love a dog, but I know I'm not responsible enough right now to take one on. So I need to like work up to that, because giving eye drops to an animal, beyond me right now.
Yeah. And, even some pets, like I've been pretty lucky with dogs, the ones that I see, they take medicine with like treats. They love their treats so much they don't think about it. But I've also heard about the pets where if you put the medicine in a treat, even their favorite treat, they'll be like, I'm not going to eat it. And then that's where you get into like, there's a way to like open a animal's jaw that isn't like painful to them, and you kind of just like get it in there. It's like it's like how vets do it, I think. And but even then I'm like, I don't know how comfortable I feel trying to pop open a pit bull's mouth all the time.
Especially when you're like the sitter, like you're there temporary, maybe like an hour a day, like you're not there for long. So it feels probably very much like, you're stepping in to do this job, and hopefully the dog eats its medicine.
Yes. And also all these stories I'm sharing, it's like I've gotten really lucky with the clients that I've kept that are very well-behaved animals, very sweet. I love them so much. Just in case any of these pet owners hear this podcast randomly, they're like, does Olivia hate our dog?
No, I can tell you care a lot about the animals, because I'm listening to you and I'm like, this is a lot of work. I don't know how you do this.
It's fun. I love it. And it is just like, yeah, it's these random extremes sometimes, but I think it took a lot of like learning through the pets that wouldn't take the medicine, or like now I know when I meet a pet, I'm like, this pet doesn't seem like it'll behave to the point where I need it to. And I'm a small woman. Can this animal like, I think about all these things now when I take on the job.
Yeah.
So I only really take on pets that I'm like, they seem really well behaved. And I also recognize that the best pets are like, their owners are the loveliest people. The apple does not fall far from the tree.
That's true.
Yeah.
They reflect that human in their life.
I
like that. Well, to bring you on a different topic.
Yeah.
On Therapy Roulette, I like to give you consent to vent. Is there anything you'd like to rant about that's been pissing you off or like obsessing over lately?
I feel like that whole pet thing was the rant for me.
But you were like happy about it. Is there anything you're more like upset about?
Am I upset about anything right now? I'm stressed. I'm a big astrology fan. Astrology.
Are you Gen Z or are you a millennial?
I'm technically a millennial, but thank you for confusing me with the younger generation.
You seem very with it, but I always think astrology is more Gen Z, but it's also very popular. So I'm also a millennial. I don't quite get it.
I've always been into astrology. Like when I was like 8 years old, I had like an astrology book and I really liked it. But I will say I'm not, astrology to me is kind of like a foreign language that I can understand, but I can't speak. So if you were to show me your birth chart, I'd be like, looks good. I don't know. But if you were to tell me about your birth chart, I could follow and be like, yes, you're right about that. And I can like understand like the forecasts of what's going to happen. And I have a friend of mine who is like a professional astrologist. So I just go to her for everything. Shout out to Haley Comet Astrology. Gonna plug her. But
professional astrologist. Wow.
She's a professional astrologist and she's very good at it. She does like personal reading. She has like all the social media videos to, follow along if you don't want to book one-on-one with her, but she's a fantastic human being. Just she's who you want to get your planet forecast from. She's lovely.
Okay. She knows what the birth chart represents.
Yes. Yeah. She's professional to the nth degree. Like she knows what she's talking about. I just kind of, once again, can kind of follow. But the thing I'm stressed about is that right now we are in Taurus season. I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but right now, as we're recording, we're in Taurus season.
Should come out soon. Yeah.
Okay.
It's still in Taurus season.
So then this will apply. We're in Taurus season, which means that you might want to spend money. And I'm like, I can't be spending money right now, but the season is going to make you want to like luxuriate and stuff. And I'm like, I can't do that. But also April 30th is the eclipse, and my signs specifically are getting hit very hard. So I'm scared of that. And then Mercury retrograde is coming up like right after that. And it's just a very hectic time that I'm like, should I just hide in my closet until June 2nd and just bunker up? Because a lot of crazy
I think
is about
you're a
to
Scorpio,
happen.
right?
I am a Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio stellium. So I have 5 Scorpio placements. Like that's sickening, but I love it. But it's sickening. It's a lot.
Okay. I'm a Scorpio regular. I don't know what that second part means. But so some of the horoscope I can apply to my own life. Now I have to be like, okay, maybe wait till June 2nd to do stuff.
Apparently April 30th is going to be very crazy for us. So, and I don't even know.
You know what? I don't leave the house a lot. I'll just be here.
Yeah, just stay there. Just, but I also think about I've been watching Haley. She does a like a weekly, she calls them Magic Mondays, and then she like forecasts the week and how it's going to play out. And during the pandemic when we were in lockdown, and it's like, what hope do I have anyways? I would watch them religiously because I was just like, yeah, tell me what's going to happen this week, because I don't know, and they're fun, and I don't dictate my life by them like so strictly, like, she's, and also like, if anyone watches her videos, she's not like, join my cult on April 6th. And I'm like, yes, I will. Like, it's not like that. It's just like, hey, you might feel a little tired on April 6th. And I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. And
she's not sending you a robe and like a liquid to drink.
Not yet. If anything,
she's not giving you the cult prep. Yeah.
If anything, I always joke with her that I tell so many people about her in such a like inspired way that I'm the one like building her cult. And she's like, please stop doing this.
Right. What's her name again? Haley Comet?
Haley Comet Astrology, I think, is like the handle or what you can Google, but HALEY Comet Astrology. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll send you her videos. Yeah, I'll get you in the cult.
Yeah, I mean, make me more afraid of the world. Let's see how bad it can get. Can I get more paranoid? Probably.
She always, and that's the thing I love about her. She has such a calm, lovely demeanor that I don't typically leave scared without my own doing of being scared and being paranoid of everything. But she said something really lovely to me the other day, and which can apply to you. She was like, there are a lot of Scorpios in comedy because Scorpios have such a astute way of observing and like alchemizing pain. And I was like,
oof.
that's so lovely to hear and gives me hope. But I also feel like there's so many Geminis who do at least stand up because they just need attention. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. Geminis are very like, I don't know if they're supposed to be good for Scorpios, but I do befriend a lot of them.
We do.
So
and
maybe there's something there.
There is, and it's completely unexplainable to me because I'm not someone who goes out looking for Geminis, but I somehow attract and some are good, some are great, but some I'm like, why? Why is this the energy? Because in theory, I would never want to be friends with someone who needs this much attention, and it's just a lot. I don't know.
On paper, yeah. If you looked at like their profile on paper, you'd be like, needy. I don't want to do this. High
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah. Hard
But then
pass.
the person like shows you a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're very
You're like,
funny.
no, I love their personality.
Yeah, they have great personality. They're funny, they're witty, they're fun. That's what it is. They're a lot of fun, but fun can be draining for Scorpios. Like,
yeah. I don't need a lot of fun, just a little bit. Just an ounce. Okay, so we're going to have a rough April. May looks cloudy. Scorpios stay inside till June 2nd. That's the synopsis I got.
At least stay inside on April 30th. But even, that's what I was going to say is that, I watch her videos and I always like to try and be prepared. But what I've learned is that it's really, I have no other metaphor other than this one, but fighting astrology is kind of like being Oedipus. The harder you try not to sleep with your mom, you sleep with your mom. So you can't, that's the thing, is like, you also can't fight any of this. You kind of just have to let April 30th be the worst day of your life. And just, because, maybe if I hide in my bunker, the bunker collapses on me. And if I hadn't hid in my bunker, the bunker wouldn't have. So I don't know. You just kind of have to let things happen, I guess.
Like you take in the knowledge. No, it's not bleak. I've been getting my astrology from my Alexa, so this is all very informative.
Okay. Yeah.
So the line about the sleeping with your mom, that should be on your merch, I think. Write that down.
Okay.
And then I'm traveling April 30th. So what do I do if I'm traveling?
I don't know. Where are you? How are you? Are you traveling by car, train, plane, cruise?
I'll be out of state, but I won't be on the plane that day. I'll just be somewhere else. Stay in the hotel.
My woo-woo answer is you got to figure out what your rising sign is and see how this eclipse specifically affects you, because that also plays a part. I think my best advice is just I heard someone say not Haley. See, this is the kind of astrology where I'm like, that's a really extreme statement, but they were like, Scorpios and Tauruses are going to be batshit crazy. And I'm like, what does that mean as a Scorpio? Because if I was told a Gemini is going to be batshit exactly. That's part of it. But I was like, if I was told a Gemini is going to be batshit crazy, then I'd probably avoid Geminis that day. But if I'm going to be the one that's batshit crazy, like what's going to make me batshit crazy? So maybe take extra long breaths when you want to react to something. If anything happens on that trip, take a deep breath. Try not to react immediately, because it might not be your best reaction that day. And because I don't know what aspect of your life it's going to affect, whether it's be career, family, travel, your home, but just breathe in and see if you can address it maybe the next day or the following week, because eclipses also have shadow periods, I think. So it's not just that day. I don't want to scare you too much. The point is, I think just take a deep breath. And and this is coming from someone who, if you told me to take a deep breath, I'd probably punch you in the face. But I'm trying to learn how to not punch people in the face.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe like April 30th, I meditate, I skip the coffee. I'm going to take it a little slower.
I say get decaf.
If I have a crisis, can I rain check my crisis? Get decaf? Okay.
Get decaf. Rain check the crisis as much as possible. Obviously, if a pipe explodes, you can't just be like, I'll deal with this later. But as much as you can put something off until you can journal about it, be a little more clear-headed, maybe have a therapy session about it. I would say one of my biggest things that I've learned is if I get a text that makes me want to react, and like I'm already like thumbs on the keyboard, like da 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 da. Once I'm in that da 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 moment, I'm like, oh, you're in that moment.
Yeah.
Delete all this.
You can't not hit send.
Yeah, don't hit send. Just come back to it. And every time I come back to it, I reread their message, and I was like, oh, they're not being an asshole. You really just read this in a tone that came out of nowhere. So glad I didn't respond with daggers and
I had that emoji ready to go. Good thing I didn't send it.
Yeah. Can
Okay,
you
this
tell
has
why
been very
I'm in
helpful.
therapy?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll only like, bits and pieces. Same as everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Olivia, do you want to spin the roulette wheel? Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Let me spin it for you. It's just a bunch of numbers. We'll see where it lands.
Oh, it's numbers. Okay.
Number 10.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is like a good tag to our convo.
Yes.
How well do you deal with your problems?
A lot better now. I think
Yeah. I hear a range of emotions, but then you bring it down with the conclusion.
Yeah. I think I used to act on those emotions a lot more. And now, and it took also a long time realizing that it is okay to have those emotions. And the key is, don't act on those emotions in that millisecond,
Mm-hmm.
And if you're still angry, like you can be angry about the way someone said something or the way something played out, but try and if when you finally, have that conversation with that person and the emotions do get heightened again, like it's okay, because I think for a while I was so frustrated with having such extreme emotions that I tried to suppress it to the point of being like always thinking like, oh wow, this person slighted me, but what are they going through today? And sometimes it's like, no, that's like a really mean thing they said to you, and they're clearly trying to get a rise out of you, and you can recognize that that is a reflection of whatever they're going through. But if you care to keep this relationship going, you need to stand up for yourself and say, hey, that wasn't okay that you did that. And if you're going to keep doing that, I can't do this anymore, and not just in, romantic relationships, but any relationship. And I think that took a lot, and it's something I'm still trying to figure out, which is why I get so scared of days like April 30th, where I'm like, what's gonna happen? So yeah,
it's so uncomfortable to bring about a conversation like that where you're like, hey, this wasn't cool, and I'm feeling sad or angry. Like it's so uncomfortable to bring that up.
Yeah, it is. And I always wonder why, because most times people are good, especially if you do surround and if anything, if you bring it up and they are horrible to you for bringing it up, then you just know, you're like, okay, I'm done. I never need to continue any aspect of this relationship again, because clearly like we're just going to keep reliving this cycle or whatever. But most times if it's someone who is important to you, they probably never meant to hurt you, is probably a genuine mistake. And the people who matter in your life will make the time to listen to you, apologize, have the conversation, or at least like explain themselves. Because sometimes even just through an explanation, I'm like, oh, I don't need an apology. Your explanation explained why we got here, and I realized you never meant to do whatever happened. And I appreciate that explanation alone. Sometimes, sometimes for me, an explanation is more important than an apology.
Yeah, it shows that they're putting in the time, like the investment of like, hey, you matter to me, and like this is why I was reacting that way.
Yeah.
But oh my God, the mental gymnastics that go into that whole thing, it's like exhausting.
It's and you have to hope that people do that for you too, because but
you're like, you're carrying your fire extinguisher, you're like, don't flip out of people. Just keep it cool.
Just spraying myself with it. Yeah, but I think it also took a lot of everything in life takes a lot of trial and error, and there are still times where because I think my whole life, if I flipped out on someone, I still felt bad. I didn't just like walk away like, look what I just did. I like if you get into a fight with someone, and I remember this more so like in my romantic relationships, like when we get into a fight, be like, immediately after I'd be like, I feel so bad that I did that, and I hate that I just did all that, even though, and that's, I think for me, it's like, that's the importance of the pause and just like taking whatever just happened, get some time to yourself, get out for a second, go for a walk, go, even it's not always my favorite to do on the coping list, but like venting to someone else, because I also get like dependent on the people I vent to then. And then I'm like, ah, shit, now I'm just relying on them to make me feel better when I need to figure out how to do it myself.
Yeah, the venting thing is really temporary. That's why like I try to vent on this podcast a lot, because I'm like, this is my platform, this is my outlet, because I don't want to put it on one person. It's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
I choose
rewatch? Yeah. Do you rewatch episodes and see like what you were venting about and like where you've grown from it? Or
I do edit every episode, so I listen to it like once back, and then I usually try to listen to it again when it's done. So I do see the, you know, the detriments, the progress. It's interesting. And then I try to learn from it if possible.
Yeah. And like I said, it's so much trial and error, because even the times where I'm like, oh, like I learned from it doesn't mean that I'm going to nail it the next time either.
No, it's like a constant trial and error, as is so much of life, which really sucks. Like, why don't we have some of it figured out?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Why are we still like mystified by sleep and food? And, you know, this stuff has been around forever.
Even when I like bite, if I'm chewing on something and I bite the inside of my cheek, I'm like, I haven't figured out how to chew yet.
I know. So hard on myself.
Yeah. Or like sometimes I'll go through periods of my life where like drinking out of a cup will be hard. And I'm like, do I need a sippy cup? What happened? And I don't know why I can't figure that out.
Yeah, that could be a medical thing.
Yeah. Just shaking as yeah, I might need to get that checked out. But you know, I only have one visit a year because of bad health insurance. So if it's not happening when I'm seeing my doctor, I'll forget about it.
And you're busy. You got pets to watch and comedy to do. So you got to save that annual trip.
Yeah, I just got to do pet therapy. I just have to hope all these animals around me are healing me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between the astrologer and the pets, I think you'll figure it out.
Yeah. I'm so scared that after this whole conversation, YouTube is going to flag this whole video as like misinformation.
I know. I'm going to have to do some bleeping, I think. Just so they don't catch those keywords, you know?
Yeah. Or maybe also put like, this episode is purely for entertainment. Always consult with your own doctor before doing anything. Like, yeah, I think if you slap on that, this is entertainment purposes only, you save yourself a little bit legally.
Yeah. I definitely do, because I get some guests who are like, are you a therapist? And I'm like, definitely not. This is just about the whole umbrella of mental health.
Yeah.
Not trying to tell you I'm a therapist. I am playing pretend.
Yeah.
Just so you know. But Olivia, this is the end of the convo. Feel free to tell us how to find you and anything you'd like to promote.
You can find me at Free Sample Olivia on Instagram and TikTok. And I have a website that is freesampleolivia.com. It has all my show dates. It has writing. It has photos if Instagram isn't enough for you. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. YouTube is harder because you don't really get a handle name, but but
if you search Olivia Hill, you come up
as like the 8th search, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I can, if you send me the link, I can put it in the show notes.
Yeah. Or, you know, like with the social media, like everything is linked to everything. So if someone wants to go through a click hole, they will find me. And I have, I do makeup tutorials.
Find your Linktree.
Yeah. Linktree is a godsend. I love that little app. So great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love it enough to pay for it.
And you have, well, yeah, that's all a scam. You do makeup tutorials and you do like funny sketch videos.
Yeah. I think even the makeup tutorials are more humorous podcasts than like a real, like if you really want a real tutorial, you should look up someone else. But I do have some like tips and tricks I throw in there that I've learned, and it's just a fun time. This is what I like to call it. It's a fun time.
If you want to put on some makeup and laugh, check out Olivia.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on. I had a great time.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks, Olivia.
Yeah.